Okay, so an issue I have is with these dots. They look like they're supposed to be clickable buttons to let the user know what's at this location, but I don't want it to behave that way. Imagine if I were to click, for example, here on drawing and painting. As soon as I clicked on it, then it would go immediately, that shows up, and now the arrow's pointing to what I've already clicked on. I don't need it to tell me what I clicked on. I mean, this makes sense to some degree, but the truth is I don't want this map to function this way anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up so that these dots, one, I'm going to replace them with a flat dot, and it's not going to be visible until you click on the location, and that's when it'll show up. So let's go set that up. So first thing I want to do is locate my original dot, which was this one. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to create a new document, and it's going to be 800 by 600. As long as it's bigger than the movie clip, I'm okay. 300 frames per second, and HTML canvas, HTML5 canvas is what I want. Okay, so I'll paste my artwork in here. Now I'm going to go back to my original artwork, and I want to get a sense of what the dot's going to look like. So I'm going to go to my keyline layer, and I'll draw my dot in this location. So I'll zoom in here, and I'll grab my tool, and I'll pick a color that I want. I don't want it to be really dark gray, but I do want it to be a little bit darker than the ceiling, or the roof rather. So if I draw this really shallow, it looks like it's kind of tilting into the building. If I pull it out too much, it's too round. So I'm just looking at the right ellipse for it to look like it's actually sitting on top of the building. I also don't want it to be really big. Okay, so that looks like it could work for me. Let me do a command return and see what that looks like. Nope, not good. So let's modify that. I'll get the free transform tool, and it looks like it needs to, I want it to go up. Let me zoom in there. I want it to go in and up a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. Still too tilty into the background, so open that up a little bit more. And one more click ought to do it. So we'll drop it one more. Not stretching. There it goes. Right about there. Let's see. All right, so now I'm going to steal this artwork. I'll do a command X, and I'm going to go back to my temporary file, and I'm going to go inside the movie clip. So drill in there, get the right tool here. Okay, so go inside. I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to go to the first frame of that layer, and I'm going to paste in my dot that I created. And I'm leaving this, I'm going to eventually delete layer number one, but this one's the one that I want in all my other dot movie clips. So I'll just go ahead and call that dot. And I'm going to lock this so I don't select it. That way I only select the dot. And so the dot, this dot in here, let me center that a little bit better, is going to be a graphic. So while it's still selected, I'm going to do an F8, and it's got graphic. And so I'll go ahead and call it dot underscore gr for graphic. And this doesn't matter how it's centered. It's not going to be pivoting or anything. Okay, so the outside animation lasts for 10 frames, starting at 1 to frame 11. The middle frame is frame 6. And so that's the way I'm going to do my animation. So I'm going to double click on here. And what I want to do is I want to make this into a shape tween. So I'm going to go to the Insert drop-down menu, slide down to Create Shape Tween. And the animation doesn't need to last this long. I want to drop that down to 12 because I want to leave 11 there. So now I'm going to do a Shift F5, and I'm going to get a keyframe in here, which I plan on changing, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. So F6 goes there, and I also need one here at frame 6. So that gets an F6. This one's going to stay. Okay, now over here, I'll go ahead and grab my transformation tool, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, holding the shift key down so it constrains. And I'm also going to change the alpha on the color. So I'll go to the shape of the color of that. So let me click on my arrow, and now I can get to the color. And I'll go to the alpha, and I'm going to make that 0. So I'm just scrolling with my mouse until it turns into a 0. I hit return. Okay, so it looks like it's still selected, and the color hasn't taken, but as soon as I click off of it, it'll disappear. And now you can see the animation slowly fade in and get bigger and fades in. So I want this alpha on the back end as well. So I'm clicking on that keyframe, first keyframe, holding the Option or Alt key down, clicking and dragging that to the very end. And so now here's my animation. So it just kind of gets bigger and smaller. Okay, so this is the symbol that I'm going to be carrying around with me to the other layers of the other movies. So what I want to do now is I want to go back over here, and now I'm not going to keep this movie clip as is right now, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this layer, don't need that anymore. And this one over here, I'm going to go ahead and do a copy. So I'll copy the layers. And the idea is that then once I've got this whole layer, I can paste it into the other movies. And if I ever need to modify the animation, I go here in the dot graphic symbol. If I double click on it, there's a timeline that I just had animated. And you can see it does its thing in relationship fading in and fading out. Okay, so let's go to the original movie clip, or rather the original movie, Command 2. And now what I want to do is just go down the line, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to delete the bottom layer. That's the dot layer. If I turn it off in here, you can see that's what that is. So I'll go ahead and do a delete. Actually, I need the trash can. And in here, this is the typography. That's still there. And so I'll go ahead and now I'm going to paste my layers. So paste is what I want. And I actually think I want this on the bottom, so I'll leave it there. But that's the animation. We can take it for a test run and see what it looks like. So we'll click on the art department, and then it shows where it is. Now I'm going to move the arrow a little bit closer, but for now what I'll do is I'll run through all of these and fix them so that they appear. So I'll do one more, and then I'll do the rest off camera. But this is what from here on out, this is all I need to do. So click on one of the buttons, double click on it, click on the bottom layer, paste my layer, click on the bottom one, and trash it. And I can test this, and I think that was art history. And so it goes to art history, and it points to that, and it works fine. So we'll go ahead and finish the rest. I'll do one more on camera. I can't help myself. Double clicking to get out of here. Okay, so come back over here, and again, right click, paste the layer, click the bottom one, throw that away. And I'll just fast forward through these, and I'll go ahead and finish the rest. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Art department, animation, looks good. And sometimes they get in the way to drill into the layer. And sometimes if you do a select all, you'll know exactly where you need to click And so the last thing I want to do here is realign my arrow. Maybe move it a little bit closer. Okay, so let me show you what I meant. So uh, if I do a select all, you can see where all these overlaps are. And if I'm trying to get over here, this little dot in here is jewelry. And if I try to double click on here, it takes me to, I think, what is that? Glass. And I don't want to be in glass. And it's just because it just happened to be where the overlap was. So what you need to do is just to make sure that you get the right one, is open it up and then click on an area that's not covered up. So if I try to, it's like the proverbial Venn diagram, but it gets me whatever symbols on top, which is glass, not the jewelry. But if I click over here, I can get into jewelry. And so that's something to keep an eye on. Okay, let's fix the arrow. So I'm going to unlock it, I think. It's the arrow. And double click on that. And I want to replace the arrow with another one. So I'll just drill my way through. You have some options in here where you can do a brush library, and you have some more standard arrows, and then you have some decorative arrows in here that you can choose. And I'm going to choose this one over here, arrow 1.08. I think the straight lines look a little bit better. And I already took a look at it earlier, so it's part of the library there. And I don't know what just happened there, but I can fix it. I think something went wrong with the mouse when I was dragging, but it's working now. And so what I want to do is change the arrow type, and I had already selected it. And so I clicked on this, and then I can get the free transform tool and change the size of it, and or I can change here, I can change how long it's going to be. And let me go drop it down to a reasonable number. And so that made it squatty. So I'm not really, and there it goes. Now I can see what it's doing. I'm not sure what went wrong, but it's working the way it's supposed to. So we'll leave it at that. Make it a little smaller. And bring that in. Let's see what that looks like. Looks like it got squatty at the last minute. Okay, that ought to do it. Yeah. Okay, now the other thing I want to do is I want to move it closer to my artwork. So let me go back to the main stage. And this little white dot here, that's what allows me to get it closer. So this is the center point, and in order for me to access it, I have to have the free transform tool selected. Then I can get to that little dot. And I can just bring it in closer, give it a test run, and then see what it looks like, how close it is. It could be a little closer, I think. Well, let's see. Yeah, I think I want it closer than that. So I'll come back over here, drag that. Actually, I'll zoom in. Whoops. There we go. And make sure I've got the right tool. Okay, let's give that a shot. Yeah, I think I can live with that. And that's pretty much it. That's the way I want it to work. And it's going to access the dot information. And there is one last little option that I can play with. And I almost don't want to show you this, but there's a workaround for it to work. And that's to add a shadow to to a filter over here, down here. I'm going to add a filter. It's going to be a drop shadow. And as you can see, I'm going to run it as is. And it shows up, but it comes in really dark. And no matter how much you lighten the strength, and I'm going to drop it way down like 10%. Here it looks fine there, but if I run it, it still comes in dark. So the trick to make it not dark is to just change the color of the shadow. So in here, I'll select that, come back down to my filter. Whoops, made a change there. Okay, come back over here to my filter, and I'm going to go with a lighter gray. And now we'll run that. And so the other thing that I want to do is I want to change the angle of the shadow. Since all my shadows are on the left-hand corner on the bottom, I want to change my angle so that this rotates to the other side. So let me click on that. And angle. Oops, I missed it. There it is right there. So bottom left. I might as well increase the strength because it's not going to matter, but at least I can see where it is now. Okay, let's see what that looks like. And so the arrow is pointing to what I want. I can still probably make some minor adjustments in here, and but that's all I needed to do. Okay, so that does this round of the tutorials. I hope these videos help you.